Hi guys, and welcome to simple calculator applet developed using Java. Let me show you guys how this works. Check out the backspace. There we go. There. And we can even enter some other data and multiply that by whatever. There we go. Plus minus. Multiply that by 2. Yeah. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to take you guys straight into Java development environment and we'll put one of these together. So let's do that now, guys. And let's start a new project. I'm going to go to File. Let's select New Java, select Java and select Java Application. Click on Next. Let's give that a name. I'm going to call that Calculate Second. Yep, that's fine. I'm going to click on Finished. There we go, and my calculator second is ready. So the first thing is I'm going to import the following, but first of all let's get rid of all of this. It's confusing. And get rid of this as well and import the following libraries. There we go. Now I'm now going to come in here and just let's extend applet. There should be an S there. Okay, extend applets. Okay, and right underneath here, let's delete this. I'm going to enter JFrame. Let's get hold of the object and I'll call that F, and that will be new JFrame. And also let me enter a title for it. I'll just call it calculator and semicolon there. Now the next thing is I'm going to now create, let me use this to the name of my project here. I'm going to use that to create an object here, and the object name is going to be called cal, and this cal, that will be a new calc second. There we go. So that's the new object, that's the instant of the object I've just created now. Now the next thing is I'm going to get it, the object that I've just created, I'm going to get it initialized, and that will be dot initialize. While that is done, let me now set, I'm going to say f dot set size. That's good, and I'll just make the size about 500 by 600. So the width is 500 while the height is about 600, and I also want it to be centered. So let's say f dot, the f, like you, as you guys can see, represent my frame. That will be, let's get it centered. And I'm going to add my instance of an object right in there. Okay, that is that done. Let's move this up a little bit so that you guys can see it. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to ask the frame dot, I want it to show. There we go. There. Okay, now that that is taken care of, the next thing we want to do now, I'm going to say frame dot get root, plane, and I'm going to say dot set, that will be for the border. I want the border around it, and let's make that a border factory. Dot create method border, and let's specify the following argument. I'm going to make it about 12 by 12 by 12. Okay, yeah, and the color, I don't want yellow. Let's say dot, maybe something gray. Yeah, I think that will be all for the frame. So let's compile and run. So now click on run. There we go. Look at the frame. That is nice. So I'm going to exit out. Now the next thing I want to do now, okay, so there isn't much so far, so let's do this. Come right down here, and I'm going to create a display, a class display. Let's say class, we just call that display, and that's, we want it to extend as well. Extend panel. There. And inside is very class. Let's declare the following. Double. I'm going to call that digit 1 and initialize that with 0. And let's declare another one. We call that integer. Well, let's come in here and just put a space in there. So that's going to be for operator, that's 0 as well. Okay, now do this. Initialize that with a 0 as well. And I'm going to create a boolean now. Let's say a boolean. And that boolean, I'm going to call it equals. And initialize it with a false default. Now, another one is going to be integer. And this one I'm just going to call it maximum length. And that is going to be, let's make that 10. Then I'll create another one that I'll call string, and this very string I'm going to call that value text. Now that I've declared all my variables I intend to use, I'm going to create a label. So let's call that JLabel. First of all, create an object for that JLabel, and that object I'm going to call it J. Let's go for LBL display, and J display, LBL display. Let's put a space in here. I'm going to say new Java label, and let's enter default value of 0, comma, it's swing constant with a nice dot to the right. Okay, so that we align it straight to the right. Enter semicolon. That is good. We're getting somewhere. So the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to now create a method. No, let's create this first. It's now going to be a method. Let's create a constructor underneath here, and we just call it display. There we go. Inside this constructor, I want the following to happen. I'm going to say set layout. That is going to be new border layout. Okay, now the next thing we want to do, since the new border layout is set, let's do this. I'm going to call JLBL display. I'm going to say dot set border, and this very border, let's say it's going to be new line. Okay, new line border. And this new line border, let's say there's going to be color in there. Let's add color to it. Dot, I'm going to make the color black. Okay, that's fine. And the thickness of the border, just make it about 4. Okay, now let's set the font. I'm going to copy this, paste it right underneath here, and that is going to be dot set font, and the font new font, and this new font that is going to be, let's go for Arial. So Arial, comma, and I'm going to now say font dot, I want it to be bold, right, and comma, that's the size of my font. I'm going to make it about 50. That's fine. Now let's add this component straight onto our system. So we say add, get it centered though, center. Then what do we want to get center? We want the LBL, this very one, paste it in there. We want it to get centered. There we go. And finally, we now want the system to paint it on the system. There. We still won't be able to see anything now. Agree, the label is there ready, but we do need to create an object right up there inside display. So to do that, let me first of all just run it and you guys will see what I'm talking about. So let's run it, compile, and we run. You see there's nothing there. Okay, so let's close that, and I'm going to go right up there. So let's just copy this, go right up here, get rid of this, paste that, and I'm going to then create an object. I'll just call that display as well in lowercase, and that is going to be equals new display. There. Now that that is done, we now need to also initialize. Okay, let's create some public void initialize, a public void initialize. There. And in here we need to set the label, the layer set. Let's get a set layer, set layouts. That is going to be new border layer. Enter parentheses there. And we also need to then add a border to add the label straight to the top. Okay, so let's just compile first, and if I run it now, you will see the label still will not appear. Okay, there we go, it's not appearing. So for it to appear, the only thing we then need to do is we have to add it. So let's say add, I want it added to the north. And what am I adding to the north? That is going to be this very display. Grab that, enter a comma there, paste, and semicolon there. That's all there is to it. You see this one? That will make it display. Okay, so let's compile and run. There we go, look at that. So I now have my label. Okay, so let's create some buttons. I'm going to create a class, and this class I'll just call it, let's call that Keypad, and let it get extended. And I'm also going to implement as follows: implement action listener. So that will listen to whatever event that I intend to use. Come right here, there. Okay, that's fine. Now, don't worry about this error. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come right underneath here, and I will just create a keypad. Let's call that keypad, and that is just going to be a constructor. Okay, and right inside this very keypad here, what I'm going to do will be as follows. First of all, let's add buttons, and the name for these buttons, I'm going to call that btn. The very first one, that will be delete, comma. The next one is going to be btn clear, followed by btn, that will be modulus, comma, btn plus minus. Now that would be for the top part of it. Then the next one is going to be btn, that will be 7, and so on. There. So let's just press enter so that you guys can see it all properly. So those are all my buttons in place now. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is I'm going to actually specify the font and so on for these buttons. So let's come right down here inside our constructor here. I'm going to start by saying font. I'm just going to call that font. That will be equals new font. And this new font is going to be, we might as well settle for this as well. I'm going to grab hold of this and just dump it in there. There. Get rid of one of these. Okay, that's my font. Maybe you reduce that to 40, I don't know yet, but let's see. Now let's set that font, set font, that will be font. Now for each of these buttons, let's create them. This is getting annoying, though we're not going to need this. I'm just going to say implement abstract. We don't need that, we have to delete that later on, but it's just getting annoying. I'm going to click on it. That is it. I'm going to get rid of it once the keypad is ready itself. I'm going to get rid of that. Alright, let's come down in here. So I'm going to say the first one is going to be btn delete, this other one, according to the arrangement that I have there, but this is the main arrangement. That is going to be equals new button, and the name is delete. Okay, and this delete, we want it to get added, so we say add btn delete. And btn delete, we also want it to listen. btn delete dot listener. Grab hold of this listener and paste. Listen to this. There. So that's taken care of. That should be add listener. Okay, that's that taken care of. The next one is going to be btn clear. I'm just going to copy this. The name is going to be btn clear. Change this one to C, and the name, that will be C on top of the button, and here add that to the system. Next, after that is modulus. I'm going to make this modulus, and so on. There we go. And after modulus, I have the plus minus. Paste. Plus minus, that will be P, PM. PM here. No. I'm going to use a code for that. That will be PM here and PM here. And this modulus is the percent sign. So enter that there, and here you see the plus minus. That's a Unicode, which is backspace U 00B1. Yeah, I think that is it. Okay, that is fine. So we have 4 in place, so let's copy that. That will be, and those are the 4 buttons on top. So I'm going to copy this and use that for the numbers. The first one is number 7, and this is 7. 7 here, 7 in here. BTN 7. 7. Why don't I have, oh, it's double T. No, that's wrong. Alright, that should have been BTN, so that's fine. Okay, the next one is going to be 8. 8 and 8, 8. Then we have 9, 9, 9, and we have BTN odd. So this will be odd. So that's for rule number 2 taken care of. Odd and odd. I guess you guys get the whole idea. So let me just speed that up. And there we go, guys. Those are all the buttons in place. So let's take it from the top. Okay, make sure you create a class for your buttons, or for the, I just call my keypad, and bring it down. And here now define all of the buttons. So it's all the same lines of code. I just change the names around and so on. Alright, now what about the arrangement? To arrange these buttons, what I want to do is I'm going to say, let's set the layout. Oh, before setting the layout, let me show you guys what's going to happen if the layout is not set. I'm going to take it right up here. First of all, we need to call that very button. Let's come right here. Okay, I'm going to create an object here for the keypad. So I'm going to just call that keypad. That will be equals lowercase keypad. That's the name, and I'm giving to it. That will be equals new keypad. There we go. And now this very new keypad, what I then want it to do is I want it to actually call the keypad and get it centered. Okay, that should be new keypad. So let's come in here and just say add and get it centered. That will be the new keypad, comma keypad. There we go. Okay, so let's try that out now. Click on compile, and we take it from there and click on run. There we go. Look at those. Look at the buttons everywhere. Alright, it's looking good. Now let's do one thing. You see this object? Let me move it and just join it to the object up there, the display object. Okay, now let's go back down there where the keyboards are. Scroll right down, and right underneath here I'm going to set the layout. Set layout, and that is going to be new. That's a grid layout. There we go. And now the arrangements, I'm going to make that 5 by 4. So 5 multiplied by 4, that will be 20, and that is correct. Then the size of the button is going to be 4 by 4. Come right here and there. Okay, the width and height is 4 by 4. Total buttons I have is 20. So let's compile. Click on compile and run. There, look at that, guys. That is very, very beautiful. Okay, that's good. So with that, I'm going to call it the end of the first part of this tutorial, and I'll see you guys shortly.